Hi, happy World Book Day. My name is Natasha Devon and I'm a campaigner. I go into schools, colleges, universities, events all over the country speaking about mental health, body image and gender. And people are always asking me for my recommended reads. So I thought for World Book Day, I would talk you through some of my all-time favourite reads on mental health and related issues, and also some of the books that I'm reading at the moment to keep you up to date. I do have a recommended reading list. If you want to get hold of that, it's tash@natashadevon.com. But this is a bit of extra bonus material, I guess. So, first of all, my mum actually bought me this book for Christmas and it's absolutely beautiful. It's by William Sieghart and it's a book of poetry that he's compiled where you can look up your emotion and find a piece of poetry to suit however you're feeling on a particular day. So it's all in here and it's just really gorgeous and something that you can keep going back to again and again. I also love this. This is by the rather magnificent Ruby, etc. What I love about Ruby, she's an artist and she draws cartoons, and she's kind of like I would describe her as a kind of sweary Quentin Blake. But the way that she draws mental health difficulties, there's nothing saccharine or patronising about it. It's just really real and it's funny. And, you know, sometimes you need to laugh. So follow her on Instagram, but also check out this book, which is called It's All Absolutely Fine, Life is Complicated, So I've Drawn It Instead, by Ruby Elliott, otherwise known as Ruby, etc. Drunk Tank Pink by Adam Alter. This is great because it just talks you through some of the really famous experiments they've done in human psychology throughout history. It's really well written, it's easy to read, so it's a kind of a shortcut through the history of human psychology. And there's some really interesting stuff in there if you want to understand how we think and behave. That's a great one. Now it is also Eating Disorders Awareness Week 2018, as well as being World Book Day. And I've got a couple of books that I recommend particularly on eating disorders. Here's one, How to Disappear Completely on Modern Anorexia, which is by Kelsey Osgood. Now, when this first landed on my desk, I actually reviewed this for The Independent when it first came out, which I think was in, I want to say 2014. But you can see the cover here. I thought it was going to be a misery memoir, and our bookshelves are already woefully overstacked with those. The world does not need another one of those. It's not, okay? So place all your expectations aside, because this is actually an incredibly well-written extended essay. It's a critique of the American healthcare system, although you could just as easily apply a lot of it to Britain, and the way that we treat anorexia, raise awareness about eating disorders. It's just so thought-provoking, and like I say, Kelsey is an extraordinarily talented writer, so it's a good read as well as being an interesting read. And there's also this one, Hope with Eating Disorders by Lynn Crilly. This was written by a parent for parents. So Lynn's daughter Sam suffered with anorexia in her early teens, and they literally tried everything, everything from GP, NHS to the Priory and everything in between, and nothing worked. So Lynn actually took the very controversial decision to try and rehabilitate her daughter from home. And this book details what she learned going through that. And it's a really good overview. It lists all the various eating disorders and the various treatments. So if you are a parent or a carer, or even I would say a teacher, and you are worried about a young person, this is a really good overview, really good book to read. This was written by my friend Claire Easton. We're All Mad Here, a no-nonsense guide to living with social anxiety. It's exactly what it sounds like. Claire has social anxiety and she has put it all in here in a really easy to read, funny guide She talks about her own experiences, but she also gives advice on things like therapy and medication. And lots of people I know who have social anxiety have read it, and as they've been going through, they keep saying, oh my God, that's me, that's me. They just relate to it so much. I am a little bit biased because Claire is my friend, but I love the way that she writes, because there's just no BS. You know, she says it like it is, but not in a Katie Hopkins way, in a caring, loving, kind, funny way. So that's a great one. Homo Deus. This is by Yuval Noah Harari, and it's actually a sequel, and you'll find this on the shelves at the moment. And his first book, I forget what it's called, but that's a kind of a history of evolution. This looks more at human psychology, and one of the most interesting parts in this book, it talks about the difference between your narrating brain and your experiencing brain. So essentially, we've all got two brains. We've got our experiencing brain, which is just neutrally taking in information from the world around us. And then we've got our narrating brain, which takes that information and uses it to spin yarns and weave together stories, which in turn help us to make sense of our identity and the world and other people. And that's why two people can have the same experiences but arrive at completely different conclusions, because their narrating brains are telling them two different things. So I found this very, very interesting indeed, as I did the first book, even though I can't remember its name. But anyhow, recommend it. And you'll pretty much find this in every single bookshop, because it's consistently at the top of the bestsellers list, and deservedly so. Russell Brand, Recovery. This is Russell's reimagining of the 12-step program. So Russell, having been a drug addict himself, passionately believes in abstinence-based recovery and the 12 steps. And he's written about it in such a way as to make it relevant not just to drugs or alcohol, but to any type of addiction. So you can be addicted to social media, you can be addicted to, I think in the digital age, you can just be addicted to stimulus, you can be addicted to not feeling bored. And again, you know, Russell's such a talented writer. It's beautifully written. I defy anybody not to read this and find something that they relate to. And incidentally, I actually interviewed Russell at the launch for this, which was at this beautiful church in St. James. And you can still find that on Russell's YouTube thread. Is that what we're calling it? Feed, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, so if you want to see me interviewing Russell about this book, then have a look at his YouTube channel. But freedom from recovery, freedom from addictions. We don't want freedom from recovery. Recovery is what we want. Sorry. So it's called Recovery, Freedom from Addictions by Russell Brand. Is a great one. So I'm now going to move on to what I'm reading at the moment. Now I haven't finished these books, so I can't give you a comprehensive overview, but these are sort of fairly new out. Johann Hari, Lost Connections, really interesting. So he's talking about how the modern world, consumerist capitalism, neoliberalism, the fact that we all work such long hours, we're very disconnected from each other, we don't really have a sense of community, and how that has led to a culture and a society which is primed to make us feel depressed and anxious. How the mental health crisis is in some ways an inevitable consequence of the culture that we have built. Now, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this book because the kind of starting point is that the author questions the validity of antidepressants. However, you know, he does make a point of saying if antidepressants work for you, or antipsychotics or anti-anxiety medication, if it works for you, carry on taking it. He is just inviting us to consider mental illness from a less individualistic perspective. And from that point of view, I think it makes very interesting reading. So don't let the negative press put you off. If you want to be encouraged to think outside the box, then I recommend this. And I think there's a lot of truth in what he says about our environment and our surroundings. A Series of Unfortunate Stereotypes by Lucy Nichol. This is funny. I've only read the first chapter, but it's already really funny. The author talking about her experience of mental illness and some of the stereotypes associated with that, and some of the annoying things that people say. So I'll let you know more when I've finished the book, but so far I am very much liking this. Another friend of mine, Pookie Knightsmith. Pookie is amazing. If you don't follow her on social media, do. She's always chucking out videos, resources. She's a doctor. Her PhD was in eating disorders and self-harm. She's one of the experts that I will always consult with in my work because she just speaks so much sense and so much truth. And she's written this little book, Can I Tell You Something About Self-Harm? It's designed, I think, primarily for schools and young people, and it's really useful, and it's got some great little drawings in it as well. So another good one there. And please forgive me, quick little plug at the end. This is the sampler for my forthcoming book, A Beginner's Guide to Being Mental, an A to Z. That's coming out on the 31st of May. What I've tried to do is condense my decade working in the field of mental illness and mental health, along with my own experiences of having a mental illness. I've had an anxiety disorder since I was 10. I also had an eating disorder in my late teens and early 20s. But I've also, perhaps more importantly, consulted with some of the world's leading experts, neurobiologists, psychologists, psychiatrists, social critics, people with a perspective to offer, and I've compiled it all into an A to Z for anybody who wants to understand their brain more. Because whilst 1 in 3 of us statistically will experience symptoms of a mental illness in our lifetime, 3 in 3 of us have got a head with a brain in it, which means that mental health is a universally relevant conversation, and I'm trying to make sure that we're all on the same page, literally. You can pre-order this now, and you can find the link on my Twitter. It's on Amazon. You can get it from Waterstones. So please do pre-order if that sounds like something that you would like to read. So I hope that you have found this little video interesting. I'd really appreciate your feedback. You can get in touch with me at _Natasha Devon on Twitter and Insta. Happy World Book Day again, and speak soon.